Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me again in the Intro to Two or More series. We've talked a bit about the vision, the calling of two or more, and what we're seeking to accomplish. And so today we're going to talk about the how we actually accomplish that and how you can partner or get involved. So, to start with, we have a process that we work through with Bible-centric churches to really get them going in a powerful prayer meeting. First, we connect them with a prayer partner. They'll meet and share the process with that church and community. Then we get a commitment from at least one leader uh, with 3 to 5 additional church members, or maybe more, depending on the size of the church. But they will commit to a weekly prayer meeting for a minimum of 1 year. That commitment's so important because you're making really a commitment to the Lord and to what we want to accomplish in prayer this year. And it ends up being so powerful. So next, we hold a prayer intensive at the church where we do weekly prayer meetings for 1 month. And basically, first, there's going to be training on the 4 elements of two or more that we talked about in the previous video that were gather to pray, um, abiding prayer, intercession with expectancy, and fasting. So we train through those and then practice them together. Then after that, a two or more prayer partner will continue to mentor the prayer team at the church that's going through that commitment of 1 year. And at the same time, this church can join the two or more network of churches where Bible-centric churches will be displayed online to show, hey, here's where we're having prayer meetings where people can find you and go, oh, this is where a prayer meeting is, where I can feel safe. It's not going to be too crazy. I can go and really learn and grow. So that is our process. I don't believe in ministries being big for the sake of the ministry or the person at the head of the ministry. So, but I do believe that it's important for us to have goals for the impact we feel like God is calling us to in the ministry that we're doing. And so, after praying about it, I believe this is our 10-year goal to see, and we'll be satisfied if God does less or more. But this is our 10-year goal. And so we believe that the Lord wants to have 500 established prayer meetings across multiple states and countries through two or more. We also believe that God wants to have trained 200 prayer partners for this task. Prayer partners will be essential in us being able to establish these new prayer meetings and help them grow in abiding prayer. And then we also want to see 100,000 plus subscribers to the Prayer Culture podcast. Now, this I'm going to talk about in a second because we haven't talked about it. But this is just very important to help get the message out there, help people understand, oh, this is what we're going for here. So, like I said, we do all this. This is how we do these prayer meetings. But we also have a few additional elements that we do to help promote abiding prayer with all sorts of people in Bible-centric contexts. One way is through the Prayer Culture podcast. So the Prayer Culture podcast is released every Friday. We talk about many different things. We talk about theology of prayer. For example, one of our topics was God's sovereignty and confident prayer, how you reconcile those two things. It's like, hey, I believe in God is very sovereign, but how do I pray with confidence in knowing what he wants? And so we talk about that. We also share practical advice. For example, if you've ever been in a prayer meeting where request time is dominating the whole time and everybody's kind of using it as a platform, it's like, oh, let me share all my problems. And then you only have 5 minutes for praying at the end. How you can avoid that issue and really still help people feel loved and cared for in prayer. So that's kind of an example of that. We share stories. So we did an episode of prayer stories from the mission field. Because we've been missionaries, we had a missionary on as a guest. We have guests often to share just the thing God's doing in them and their prayer lives. And so it's just a really powerful tool to help people get vision for how prayer culture can be in their church, in their local community, and all those things. Additionally, we have a ministry called the Prayer Porch. This is a place in local Old Town Tomball. And it's just a beautiful porch that's set aside from 8 to 5 every weekday for people to just come and meet with the Lord. There's ambient worship music, there are books on prayer, and it's just a space that's dedicated to God and meeting with Him. So you can actually check that on the website. There's the location directly on the website there, and times and all that stuff. But that's another part of our ministry. A few future initiatives. We do plan to launch the video training series for Two or More, which is in post-production. Yes, it's so close to done. And then we'll be able to train people via videos, sermon series that I did. That's going to really help people get vision for how they can practically do two or more prayer, or abiding prayer. And in the future, this is one that I haven't started yet, but I want to do QR code-based gospel tracks. This I'll share more about in the future when we're going to do it, but I believe that evangelism and discipleship should be a part of every ministry. And so as we're praying, I believe that people in churches will be more hungry to share their faith, and these gospel tracts will be a great, very culturally relevant tool to share the true gospel with their neighbors, friends, and the people they run into at restaurants and gas stations and everywhere. So now here's very important. This is how you can get involved. First, you could become part of the partner team through monthly giving and prayer. So this is very important. This ministry runs by the support and partnership of generous people like you who love the Lord, and the Lord has encouraged them to partner with this ministry. And so this is something very common. I mean, Jesus' ministry was partnered with. People gave financially to his ministry. I'm not Jesus. There are a lot of good ministries. And if you're not giving to a ministry out there, I encourage you, whether it's this one or another one, partner with ministries financially. But basically, our ministry is only able to function if people are partnering with it financially, and more importantly, in prayer. When you say, hey, I'm going to give monthly to what God is doing here in Two or More, I also would love to hear the commitment and the power that goes behind when people say, hey, I'm going to give a time commitment to make sure I'm praying at a minimum monthly for this ministry, for Two or More, for God to work. And so I just really strongly encourage you that to pray for the ministry, even if you aren't giving financially. But this ministry is able to go by financial giving, and I encourage you to ask the Lord if he wants you to partner financially and in prayer with this ministry, and do exactly what he says. So whether it's yes, no, or not yet. So second, you can connect Two or More with your church or small group. Maybe you're out there and you're like, oh, I want this in my church. I want to see a culture of prayer in my church. Well, then go ahead and connect Two or More. There's connection information on the website. You can send me a message, and I would love to connect with your pastor, your prayer pastor, connect with you about your small group, and just see how we can help you grow in your prayer culture and really get abiding prayer at the center of that. And third, you can start a prayer meeting in your own community. Go to your church leadership, say, hey, let's start a prayer meeting. It's really not about Two or More. Two or More has a lot to offer in helping people understand types of prayer they've never experienced. That's why I feel like the Lord called me to it. But just start a prayer meeting in your community, and then reach out to me, and I can help from there. But I just really encourage you to be people of prayer. So those are ways you can get involved. One more question, though, and this is really important. Why should you get involved? Why would you get involved? Well, first, you and your family will grow through this. I can't tell you how powerful it's been for me and my kids to be doing this ministry together, doing prayer meetings together, to do worship together. It's been really powerful. And so that's why I'd say it's so valuable and important for your family that you do this, or do a ministry like this. Also, if you invest in this, you're making a kingdom investment. Um, so Jesus says, build treasures in heaven, right? Where moth and rust cannot destroy and thieves cannot break in and steal. So when you invest in what God's doing on the earth, then you're investing in the kingdom. You're making a kingdom investment. So I encourage you to pray about what kingdom investments will God make. These are the most valuable investments you can make. It's more valuable than your IRA, your 401k, your savings account. It's more valuable than crypto. It's more valuable than any of those things. This is the most valuable investment you can make, is in what God is doing in two or more, or even in other ministries. Just make sure that you are following God's voice and sharing of your resources, because it's a kingdom investment. And lastly, I'd say the people around you are impacted. When you get involved in Two or More and you're like, hey, we're starting prayer meetings in our small group for our neighbors and for this place, it impacts people. And I have to tell you, I've already seen it. I've seen a number of lost people get saved since we just started praying for them in a prayer meeting. That's the power and the impact you're going to leave in your community and the people around you, in your schools, in your church, all around you, when you invest time and effort in your life in prayer. And Two or More can so help you with that. So that's the end of my intro to Two or More series. Please check us out at twoormore.org. We'd love for you to just check it out, see what God's doing, and we'd love to get resources to you to help you grow in your prayer ministry and your prayer culture. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.